Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Daksh Gaur. I am the founder of Blub magazine, which works on the concept of teens inspiring teens. We try to find out teens who are doing great work in their life and share their struggles and successes with other teenagers. So we are a peer-to-peer inspiration platform. And from time to time, we try to create industry white papers focused on K-12 education sector, which is typically school education. Today I am welcoming you, all of you, to the Blub World Web Talks 31st edition. This is the 31st talk that we're doing. Till yesterday, we did 30 talks and more than 300 school leaders have participated till now from 60 plus geographies from around the globe. And the white paper that was supposed to, that we're creating is going to be published 15th of this month. And the topic of that white paper was No Lockdowns on Learning. The focus of that white paper was to find out what all innovative are schools doing during the lockdown to continue learning. And from today, there's a change of topic. So the new topic, or the topic for the next white paper that we're going to create, is the post-lockdown school. That what do you think would be the changes or the new atmosphere or the environment that the schools will function in post this lockdown? We still don't know when the lockdown is going to get over for the schools. So today we'll try to have your ideas on how do you perceive the future of education in schools in India. So before we go further, just to give you a small brief on the kind of ideas that we had got. Just yesterday, we had one school from, I suppose, somewhere in UP itself. They are giving their students a very innovative assignment. They are giving them hypothetical history assignments. Just for an example, they have told their kids, imagine if this pandemic would have come during the time of Akbar. What would have happened and how would the society have reacted to it? So people are doing some amazing stuff. There's one school in Padua, which is a very small village in West Bengal. They don't have internet. So what they did was they told their students to create a custom dictionary at home, where they have to add 5 new words every day and bring that dictionary to school once the school reopens. There's one school that has asked its students to do a daily news report on whatever is going around them. So, and a very innovative idea came a day or two back where they've told students to draw and write about their dreams. What are they seeing in their dreams? So people have found new aspects to learning. We were right now, as educationists or as schools, we were all looking at teaching. And we were not very, very targeted on research or understanding of learning. But right now, most of the schools have now switched the sides and are now started understanding and delving into learning perspective. Because just to share a small observation, the world of commerce or business, when it started, the supplier used to be the king. Whatever he had, he supplied and the buyer used to buy. Then marketing surged, investment surged, business changed, and it became a buyer's market. And for education, I think that flip has come with this coronavirus, that we are now a learner's ecosystem. We are no more a teacher's or a school's ecosystem. So with this perspective in mind, let's hear it from all of you. We have a special guest today whose profile has already been shared with all of you. So let's first hear it from Sandeep ji. Sandeep ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please initiate this session for today. Let's give us some more exciting ideas or some more insights that could stimulate all the minds to give us some amazing thoughts and innovations. Over to Sandeep ji for the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, for having me here. It's been a interesting couple of weeks for us. We are a startup and we primarily focus on game-based learning, right? And especially when it comes to school. I would like to narrate, the experience that I've had in the last couple of weeks. So I have a daughter who goes to 4th standard and she's been, completely locked down like any other child. But, as a company, we wanted to develop an awareness game on coronavirus, right? So we wanted to target, the set of population amongst children and as well as, teenagers who could actually play a game on coronavirus and then try and understand the various new norms, like social distancing and, wearing a mask, which is not the regular, feature for them today. Interestingly, when we did a play test with, children, so what we, the format that we followed was we invited a couple of, children. We got, them to do the entire storyboarding and we got them to actually go ahead and then tell us, how story would, really pan out in their heads when they are thinking about, training their own friends or themselves on coronavirus, right? So from a pedagogical standpoint, as you rightly said, it becomes a quick flip between, a completely a teacher-centric, tutorial-based model to a learner-centric, model where the learner becomes the center of the ecosystems. So the post-lockdown scenario, in my view, most of the schools would still, function the way in which they normally would. But what I also see is, tremendous opportunities which could actually unfold in terms of, either, be it on a pedagogical approach where they could look at, various new pedagogical avenues to engage with students, or for that matter, look at a complete ecosystem of, reimagining the way in which, a classroom is done, either in terms of, let's assume a PTA meeting, or, for that matter, how post, classroom sessions are handled, to help, some of the students who probably are not able to, cope up with their, current, academic settings. So to give that specific, targeted, learning outcomes to, students who really need, because most of the current, setup is a industrial model where, we have about 30 students in a class. The teacher is hard pressed for time. All that happens is the teacher, communicates, their ideas to students, but the learning, happens, not during the process, but, sometimes, outside. So if we really need to have an impact, on the schema of the children, and then make them really discover and explore, the possibilities of other pedagogical approaches, like theater, like games, could actually really, play an important part in the digital ecosystem, post the lockdown period. That's like a quick thought that I have, on this topic.
Thank you, Sandeepji. There are going to be a lot of changes once the lockdown opens up. The infra of a school is not ready for that.
True.
And typically, how would we cope up to that? We don't know. So
Right.
This talk, and through these sessions that we're going to have in the coming days, we are trying to find specific solutions that other schools can use. So when all of you give your inputs, try to share with us your introduction, one personal opinion that you think that must happen in a school post this lockdown, and third, what you think will happen in a school. This will is something that everybody accepts, and this your personal opinion is something that you can dream of. So even sharing a dream could be great, but we would want two aspects of it: one dream and one that you think that will happen, or that's ought to happen. Let's now hear it from Nicholas sir. Nicholas sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
There is a old saying, if you don't know where you are going, any road will get you there. This is very true when it comes to schools post-COVID lockdown. School leadership must make a detailed plan now, showing direction to staff, parents, students with clarity as to how schools will function once the lockdown is lifted. Otherwise, any road will get you there, creating confusion, chaos, or disaster. Though it is practically difficult to imagine how schools would function post-COVID lockdown, it is essential to visualize and draft a detailed plan, keeping all the stakeholders in mind, like principals, vice principals, school managers, PTA members, HODs, and so on, whoever can contribute for the planning of post-lockdown. As I visualize, I find there are 4 areas which are very important. First one is infrastructure and facilities. Second one, sanitization plan. Third would be policies. Fourth would be school finance. When it comes to infrastructure, keeping in mind social distancing and the student strength of the school, we have to plan many classes, how classes would be accommodated in one single day. It's very important. We can accommodate only 1 student per bench. There should be 1 meter distance between 2 benches. So practically, if the current strength is 40, you'll be able to accommodate only 20 students in a classroom. Most of the schools in metros already running in 2 shifts. Their challenges would be far greater. School transport would be another big challenge. If a single bus with a current strength of 35 to 40 students is able to accommodate only around 17 to 20 students. Next comes, then we need to, then we need to have a proper class-wise plan, which classes would be coming to school on which day. Coming down to next sanitization plan, school must sanitize classrooms, corridors, and various facility rooms as frequently as possible. School must create adequate number of stations for hand sanitization. Housekeeping staff must keep a constant vigil on sanitization of washrooms, classrooms, other facility rooms, and equipments. Next comes the policies. The policies are very important. School must make policies for staff, parents, and students. Visitors too should have a separate set of policies. The policies must show direction with clarity. The policies must include training of staff prior to the coming of students to school post-lockdown. Once the staff members are trained, parents must be trained and guided through circulars, webinars like we are conducting now, video messages, etc., for preparing the children to come to school.
Nicholas, so the time's up. We had to mute you, but we'll try to take your thoughts again if possible. I think you have painted a very detailed picture of what kind of a school would it be once the lockdown is over. And I think it's really interesting. We would want to hear more about it and listen to you more if it's possible within this session itself. But thank you so much for that amazing detailed view. And please share that with our team. We'll try to document it. Thank you so much. Let's now hear it from Roshan Gandhi. Roshan ji, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio. Please give us your introduction, one personal opinion that you think that should happen in schools, and third, that will happen.
Hi, I'm Roshan Gandhi. I'm Director of Strategy with the City Montessori Group of Schools in Lucknow. We're the world's largest school in one city with 57,000 students. Thank you so much for having me today, and great to hear the views of the other participants also. I think one thing that we've really learned at this time as an education community is the importance of thinking about the well-being of students. I think this was something that was overlooked prior to this crisis. Some schools were talking about it, but it was never a priority. I think now, because of the tough situation that everyone is facing, students are having a hard time on their own in isolation at home. The parents are themselves having a hard time. There's a lot of stress in the household, a lot of negative news. So it's a very tough time for children that way. And I think we've learned a huge amount about how to manage children's well-being, how to give them a sense of community, camaraderie by keeping them engaged in online classes, how to give them a sense of routine and structure, which really helps in reducing their anxiety. And I think, I certainly hope that this is something that will remain the case after the lockdown as well, that even when things return to normal, the things that educators have learned about well-being will continue in the mindset, and well-being will continue to be a priority. So that's my hope, you could say. And my thing, which I'm pretty sure about, is that I think obviously teachers have been trusted to learn technology on their own very quickly. And they've done so very well. And I think all of the naysayers who were there before, who used to think that teachers can't learn about technology and teachers aren't tech savvy, I think they've been proven wrong. I think teachers have really adopted that. And I think it's going to be something which integrates into the classroom more and more. And not specifically online teaching in this manner. This is just a tool that we have to use because we have no other option at present, although no one really likes it. But the act of having got onto this kind of online learning has enabled that shift in mindset, that acceptance of the idea of good educational technology. And as a result, I think teachers who become more tech savvy, more confident in their ability to use technology, will continue to use different technologies back in the classroom. And I think, it was always the case that schools would get closed for one reason or another, hot weather, cold weather, rainy weather, whatever it is. So now at those times, we can continue to use all these online classes and carry on that way.
Thank you so much, Rohanji, for sharing those thoughts. I think this sense of routine and structure is something that is proving out to be really helpful to decrease anxiety. And a lot of schools are right now really keeping a track of it and keeping a tab on it. A very interesting approach that one of the schools has started doing, that after a 40-minute class, they're giving a 5-minute active break where they tell the kid to stand up and do some exercise in front of the camera. Then it's a 5-minute passive break when you rest, and 5 minutes is your home break, when you cut the call and go back to your parents and meet them and come back again for the next 40-minute class. So there have been some very small little innovations that are helping schools in doing that. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts. Let's now hear it. Sir, I still cannot read your name. I can read the phone mobile number. Vivo 1727. Over to you, sir. Please give us your introduction. One personal opinion on how would world change, and one thing that you think will ought to be happening post this lockdown. Over to you.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Myself, Ashish Nath Agnotri, Principal Sri Krishna Ideal Public School, Birol, Darbhanga, Bihar. As the topic is given, how the school will function after the lockdown. It's a really very big challenge. It's a challenge not only for particular school, it's the challenge for all the schools who are running under state boards or CBSE boards. We have to run the school alternatively on alternate days, because each and every class right now, maximum school, they have the strength 35 to 40 students, 45 students. So as per my personal view, if we conduct the classes like this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, middle secondary and senior secondary classes, and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, pre-primary and primary classes, in that way, at least we can utilize our rooms where the 15 to 20 students can sit, and school duration has to be somewhere extended. The reason behind that, we have to take the class 3 days. At the same time, if we are keeping like this 7 to 4 or 8 to 4, at least 2 or 3 races we have to create, and proper study can be there. Second thing is that staff meeting we have to conduct, as we are conducting right now, webinar with video conference on the WhatsApp group. Second, we at the same time we have to conduct the co-curricular activities like this speech competition, dance competition. If solo performance is organized and after that it can be updated on social media, that will be very fruitful for the children. The very important thing is that as the students are coming to school at the entry gate, their hand must be sanitized. At the same time, when they will enter, school's rule must be very compulsory. They have to use the gloves. Teacher also must use the gloves, mask, so that when there will be interaction between the students and teachers and their notebooks, they will touch the notebooks, textbooks, so that if they are using the gloves, then they can save themselves. At the same time, teachers must use the proper mask, and after the school, it's duty of the students also, as well as their parents also, they must be guided. Whatever they are touching, pen, pencil, eraser, other equipments of the geometry box, it must be sanitized. That is the guardian's responsibility is there. At the same time, school management, lab in charges, science teachers, their duty is also there. Whatever the equipments have been touched, it must be sanitized properly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts, sir. We'll try to again listen to you if possible. Let's hear it from Kadhir, sir. Sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Hi, good evening all. This is Kadireshan, the principal of Navnita School in Nellore, Andhra Pradesh. Happy to be here as a part of this webinar. The current situation and then post-lockdown, a very, very insightful thought. Currently, all the schools across India has been engaging the children with their kind of worksheets, assignments, all sort of. And the post-lockdown scenario. Post-lockdown scenario is going to be a very, very tough task for all the school management, the principals, the teachers, etc. Right from the academics transactions, kind of academic transactions, it's not going to be a simple task for the teachers. Teachers will have to equip themselves with all kind of technology-based teaching, learning things to happen. We cannot engage children in any kind of group activities. We cannot have this peer learning, which is very, very essential. And I'm just talking about schools in a kind of rural sector not very well developed, not very well connected with the internet facilities, etc. And my personal opinion, what will happen is the schools are going to rush through the syllabus. There's no point cutting down the syllabus, because there is a upgradation. Wherever you have a syllabus cut, the next consecutive year is going to get affected, and finally it is the board examinations and the things which are just going to be affected. And so there's no point, but the schools will have to make themselves, their teaching team, their infrastructure, everything will have to be uh, appropriately designed such a way that the the transaction of the knowledge on a overall perspective does not change. But we also have the other developments in the children which are going to be affected. The physical activities of the children in the way of sports and games are seriously going to get affected, because no group activities, no group team playing. And that's where we have to think of engaging the children both physically and connecting themselves to the latest technology. But I am also afraid children getting acquainted with the technology, showing interest to a classroom setup. These days children get addicted to the mobiles and other technology. That's I'm sure Mr. Sandeep also would agree to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the biggest challenge would be once, while using these tech platforms, most of the kids would have accustomed themselves to one-on-one teaching. And once they come back to that one-to-many format, would it be easy for them or not? That's something that lies within the box that we're going to know in the coming times. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing those thoughts with us. Let's now hear it from Sunil, sir. Sunil, sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Good evening, everyone, and especially Daksh, for this kind of an effort you have made, and you have connected all the leaders worldwide, around 1,000 schools and 1 lakh leaders. More than that, you are a very celebrating approach by your world. Let me introduce myself, Sunil Patel from Sardar Patel International CBSE School, Madhya Pradesh. It is, Indore. You may be neat and clean city of the India, but today we are facing a lot of problems. We are in the red zone. Now come to the point. What is my personal name, my dear friends? Regarding this COVID-19, it's very, very tough time. And when we are in classroom or we are in the office or we are in
your volume is very low. You'll have to speak a little louder.
Okay. So when schools start, it will be a very tough time actually for us. And my personal opinion is that we have to go, first of all, means we have to create the community awareness, training for our staff, or so community training in the sense means community, parent community and student community, training related to the getting education along with how to save them from this COVID-19. Right from teaching, non-teaching, and all the staff members. This is what my personal, that community awareness. It is not regarding education only. It is regarding the safety measures our schools has to take anyhow. If our schools would fail to take the safety measures, so definitely we will put in the valley of the sorrow. So we have to be very, particular and very serious. All leaders' role is very, important, utmost important, that we have to see. Now, again, come to the point, how would be world change? We can only now imagine, we cannot predict anything. What would happen? But my friends, we have to take this time, this tough time, as a challenge, as a positive, and it is an opportunity that we have already started. All leaders have already started giving education materials, online videos. We are teaching, like you, Mr. Daksh, we have opportunity to meet like a person, worldwide, people we are going to meet. So these are our steps. This is what you are doing, community awareness. You are doing a very, very fast work. And this is what we have to create in every village, where there is no network. We have to do this in all the cities of our India. We have to be very particular. And this one more task, on our head. Again, come to the point, biggest challenge. You know, there are different kind of sections in our school, right from nursery, means I mean to say pre-primary, playgroup, and the middle class and the higher class. It may be managed properly from the 6 to 12, but can you imagine how we would manage from playgroup? I don't know whether this parents would be able to send their children or what. So this is a very great challenge. What would happen about the financial monetary problem, whether the parents would pay the fees or what would happen? Everybody's future is in the blind. We can't say. Only we can imagine, my dear friends. So these are all worries, and these are all challenges. But amidst that, my friend, that we have to continue this cultivating thoughts or the motivating thoughts and good things among our children. We have to motivate them. So thank you very much once again, for this kind of opportunity by the Bulb Word Web Talk. And I would like to have this kind of thought sharing again in the future also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So that before I go to the next speaker, the reason why we are doing this activity is till now, most of the research that education has within this country is not very meticulous and does not come from the users of the policy is not made on the basis of the users' opinions and views. We are trying to create opinions and research-based white papers on what all the ecosystem actually needs. A lot of schools right now are in a big financial crisis because fees is going to a big issue now. We just some days back, we had the head of education investments from Anand Rathi Advisors, and most of the schools right now are looking for CC limits. They're looking for credit lines. How is the time that's going to come? How are we going to handle it? Because infra costs and variable costs stick to the school. They cannot be let off. But as the community, the economy goes down, how are we going to maintain our expenses, and how is the money actually going to flow? So there's a lot of questions that are there. So try sharing some more insights or anything that you think is more important than that and that should become a part of this white paper. Please share those opinions with us. Over to Sri, sir. Sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Okay, so first of all, Divi Purohit and Daksh, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And it's a wonderful thing to share, the post-lockdown situation of the schools. By the way, I'm Srikanth, as I told you, and I'm the founder and chairman of the Trellis School, Anantapur. It's in Andhra Pradesh. So, being a founder and the chairman, I always feel like it is important to maintain not just the mental well-being, but also the emotional and physical well-being, and also the safety of the students as well as the staff is utmost important. Okay, and especially I often use a word called, the sentence called we are living in the golden era of our species because we are enjoying all the luxuries. But it is a kind of a paucity for for this time because of this COVID-19, all the industries and everything has been suddenly shut down. And now if you could look at, coming back to the school part, kids doesn't know the seriousness of this pandemic COVID-19. Kids be kids, that's it. And they start mingling, playing, and trading. Lunches will be continued in the schools once the school opens as well. And especially coming back to the Indian schools and the parents, Indian schools and parents doesn't have a good access to the online schooling. Okay, and furthermore, even most of the teachers and parents are not digitally sound too. Okay, and hence the schools need to open online system. Okay, and if we open an online system, especially in India, I strongly doubt on the student-teacher engagement thing. Okay, any which ways. I do not want to go deeper into that particular subject. So as Daksh asked very clearly, like personal opinion. Okay, and government may focus on the infrastructure of the schooling part. Okay. And it may affect the finances of the school because government may ask number of students per the class needs to be reduced and size of the classroom needs to be increased and using a mask will be continued within the schools and schools may supply infrastructure to the parents interestingly in the next time too because few parents doesn't have the infrastructure facility within their home. So schools may supply the infrastructure too along with the uniforms and all. Moving forward, that's what I'm expecting. And also, what is my dream is we definitely need to be digitally ready. I mean, we in the sense it's all inclusive of the parents as well as the schools, because even the schools doesn't have the digital facility. Digitally, literacy is very poor in India. I'm not against it, but I mean, it's a fact which I would just wanted to bring in front of you. Okay. So the situation post this pandemic, COVID-19, we definitely need to maintain the high personal hygiene within the classrooms. And also, I mean, the social distance has to be continued within the classrooms. And because, I mean, we can't predict the future, because even the students within the classroom, we may, I mean, restrict them not to touch there, not to touch here and all. But during the breaks time, and when we leave the students out from the school, so we can't, I mean, control the students every single time, right? So it is going to be, I mean, a difficult situation. So everything needs to be reduced, and I hope I mean, we will be getting the vaccine soon, and post that we will be continuing as usual with the schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So the basic motive behind starting this activity was, as every section of the society contributes to the society with its own capabilities and its own knowledge. As far as educationists are concerned, we are responsible to deliver education and knowledge, but at the same time, we are supposed to create the future knowledge that is required to the world. I would request everybody who participated within this web talk, please try to create observation papers on whatever you experience during this lockdown, because these observation papers that you do right now would become the knowledge bank that the world of K-12 education will need in the future. Because at this point, you are finding solutions to problems which the world has never faced. And these solutions are different from whatever we had found with some other pandemic, because right now technology has enabled us a lot. But this discussion is basically to stimulate thinking so that newer and newer ideas can come in. Because most of us are right now managing operations, and we are so involved in managing our schools or running them swiftly that we have forgot that some visionary started the institution with some challenges. But right now, whoever is operating that institution again needs to become a visionary, because the school that will open won't be opening in a normal time. It will be opening in a new normal time, which will be defined by the coming times and by the attitudes that we have towards it. So before we conclude the thought, a very last leaving statement from Sandeep ji. We try to bring in a varied audience, which varies from metro cities to villages to small towns to chain school leaders to startup enthusiasts. We try to make a mix of people who are affecting the whole education ecosystem. So over to Sandeep ji for a quick conclusion of this talk.
I mean, it's truly been an eye opener for me, to the level of detailing that the leaders have gone in terms of the problems that they're going to face. But what I could also quickly think is, as startups, what we do is we closely work with, large corporates, on a model where we actually come and sit on a boot camp model where we understand the problem and then see how we could actually come up, with solutions collectively, right? So that's, one such model that the K-12 education systems could also be looking at as well, because some of the startups, either from a technology enabled perspective, or for example, the process reengineering perspective, or any other, third party idea that we could bring in, because it's a collective responsibility for us as well. So we also would like to see our children, not face the kind of issues that they might face once they, get into the post-lockdown phase. So, if there is a model where, the startup ecosystem could also actually, because there is a vibrant, edtech, space, at least in Bangalore and a couple of other cities that I've known, who are actually having solutions to some of the problems that the institutions could face. So it could be tech-enabled, solution, or probably not even a tech-enabled solution. It could just be a, minor tweak, just an outside-in perspective of the problems that people could solve. So, I think such, collaboration between corporates, large, institutes, startups, and the, schooling system, ecosystem could really, benefit in terms of we coming up with innovative solutions to because some of the problems that you have listed are very hard problems, right? It's not, fictitious. It's a problems that, most of you are going to face, or most of us are going to face, post the lockdown scenario is going to happen. So in that sense, a collaborative problem solving approach, which some of the corporates are currently using, where they're engaging various startups to find up solutions, could also be one of the mechanisms that the K-12, educational institutions could also look for, to come up with collaborative solutions, because we are all in here, as you said, it's a problem that we have never faced before. But also it gives us opportunities that could really, change the business model or the way in which the K-12 education could, be delivered, down the line. So both a risk and an opportunity. It really looks like, how we're going to handle the next couple of weeks or months of planning and, execution is what is going to define the way in which, the success, of our institutes.
How does this activity pan out? Thank you so much, Sandeep ji. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Before this talk comes to a conclusion, I would just like to share 2 observations with you that we have got after talking to nearly 300 school leaders till now. And these observations are basically food for your thought, so that when we meet next or we talk next, we have some more good ideas coming in from you. The first one, we right now are using and implementing or inducting a lot of ed tech products within our schools or ecosystems. And what we could observe is that most of these ed tech or education technology products are not solving education problems. Most of them are solving communication problems. So as far as educationists or you are concerned, try to find out what do you need in an ed tech product for yourself. Because once you give an technology to a kid, you introduce him to an all new ecosystem and he gets immersed into that. So before you immerse your kids or your students onto a platform, think twice or thrice on what do you need on that platform. Second, once this whole lockdown comes to an end and these operational issues that we have talked about will be handled, there's one very big challenge that we are all going to face. First, the persona or the characteristic introduction of the student that you had in your class will dramatically change post this lockdown, because his mental setup would have changed, his experiences would have changed. And at the same time, the teacher you had in your classroom would also change. And how would you handle their interaction or dynamics in the coming times is something that has to be thought upon. And what skills do you actually need in a future educator? Because just content delivery or delivering information would no more be a big skill, and is no more a big skill, because technology can do that. A lot of videos and simulations can do that. Then why do you need a teacher? And what will be the role of the future teacher is something that has to be pondered upon. And most important, academics is something that tech is taking care of very well. But other than academics, what skills does a student need that you will have to give him to make him better than technology? Because that's the only thing that will make him employable in the coming times. Anything that technology can do is something that's no more a human skill, or that's not required a lot. So what we thought and what we could understand after talking for so many days, there are 2 skills which we will all have to focus on and find ways of deciphering. First one being creativity. Creativity not in the sense of colors and paintings and dance. That's an aspect of it. Creativity in the sense of critical thinking. Creativity in the sense of divergent thinking. Creativity in the sense of actually training kids how to think on finding solutions. And second, which is going to be playing the most critical role in the coming times, is giving them wisdom to actually judge what they want and what is good for them and what is not good for them. Because right now, all the people who advocated for not having technology and not having phones given to a student are promoting the same thing. So once you give your kid the tech and the internet, the only wisdom or the only person who can monitor that individual on internet is himself. So you will have to find ways to strengthen his wisdom of judgment. And I hope we'll be able to find solutions to those. We right now are doing a very innovative activity where we are trying to find out India's most creative school. So if you're doing anything creative, you, your students, your teachers, your parents, if you're doing anything, any innovation that can solve education problems of the future, share them with us. We have a big cash prize waiting for you. The simple reason why we are giving up cash prize is to know every single minuscule innovation that's happening. Because even a small little change could become a big, big, big deal in the coming future, because we don't know what's going to happen. So I hope you're doing great stuff at your institutions and being safe, being in that lockdown. I hope you enjoyed the last 20-30 minutes. If you did, and if you want to participate in future, some more talks like these, please open your audio, say a big yes, and thank you so much for taking out the time for being with us today.
Yes, Daksh, thank you very much.
Yes, we'd like to be there.
Thank you so much.